Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something really fun. We're looking at the sheer, completely unprecedented scale of the upcoming 2026 World Cup, but we're going to do it through a totally different lens, a numerical one. Because behind every single iconic moment on the pitch, there's usually a pretty staggering statistic. So let's get right into the math behind the magic.
But before we dig into the massive logistics of the next tournament, I want you to consider a weird question. What do an 11-second goal, a heroic dog named Pickles, and 104 matches all have in common? Well, believe it or not, they are all absolutely crucial pieces of World Cup history. Let's dive in and see why.
Here's how we're going to break this down. First up, the biggest tournament yet. Then age is just a number, followed by unbreakable goal-scoring records. After that, we'll get into some bizarre World Cup history, and finally, wrap it up with the evolution of the games.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the biggest tournament yet. So, for the very first time, the tournament is going to be co-hosted by 3 different nations. We're talking Canada, Mexico, and the USA. It's also going to be the longest duration ever, spanning 37 uninterrupted days. But the absolutely crucial detail here is that we're jumping up to a record 48 participating teams. This is actually a massive deal because it's the first major format change since way back in 1998 when they expanded to 32 teams. And because of that massive expansion to 48 teams, the total number of matches is ballooning. We're going from the traditional 64 games all the way up to 104. That makes it the largest World Cup ever held. So yeah, you're gonna get way more action than we've ever seen in a single summer.
Moving right along to Section 2, age is just a number. You know, the World Cup has always been defined by these incredible extremes in age. Take the Brazilian legend Pelé, for example. He first lifted the trophy in 1958 when he was just 17 years and 249 days old. To this day, he's still the youngest player to ever win it. But then, in stark contrast, you've got Egypt's legendary goalkeeper Essam El-Hadary. In 2018, he didn't just become the oldest player in World Cup history at 45 years and 161 days old, he actually became the competition's oldest ever debutant. It's just a totally mind-blowing testament to human endurance.
And hey, speaking of define father time, we absolutely have to talk about Cameroon's iconic striker, Roger Milla. He holds the title for the oldest goal scorer in World Cup history. Back at USA 94, at 42 years and 39 days old, he scored against Russia and literally wrote his name into the history books. And the craziest part, he actually beat a record that he had set himself 4 years earlier. Just imagine capping off your career on the world's biggest stage, busting out your famous corner flag dance well into your 40s.
All right, up next is Section 3, unbreakable goal-scoring records.
Let's test your intuition for a second here. Who do you think holds the record for the most goals scored in a single World Cup match? Your mind probably jumps straight to modern legends, right? Guys like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, or maybe even historic greats like Pelé. But honestly, the real answer usually takes people completely by surprise. The actual answer is Russia's Oleg Salenko. Back in 1994, he cemented his legacy with this legendary 5-goal performance in a 6-1 win over Cameroon. But here's the fascinating twist. Russia didn't even make it out of the group stages that year. Yet, when you combine those 5 goals with a penalty he scored against Sweden, it was enough for Salenko to share the Golden Boot. To this day, he is the only player ever to win that prestigious award while playing for a team that was eliminated in the group stage. Okay, that brings us to a sequence of rapid-fire, seemingly untouchable numbers. Let's start with 11. That is the exact number of seconds it took for Turkey's Hakan Şükür to score against South Korea in 2002. South Korea kicks off, Turkey applies immediate pressure, and boom, just 11 seconds on the clock. It was, and still remains, the undisputed fastest goal in the competition's long history, just lightning fast. Building right on that momentum is our next staggering number, which is 13. This represents the total number of goals scored by French striker Just Fontaine. But wait, here's the catch. He didn't score these over his entire career. No, he scored all 13 goals in just a single tournament,
back in 1958. He had 6 in the group stages, 4 in the third-place playoff, and a few more in between. Averaging more than 2 goals a game at a single World Cup, yeah, that's a feat we'll probably never, ever see replicated. And finally, we're going to wrap up these rapid-fire stats with the ultimate summit of goal scoring, 16. That record belongs to Germany's Miroslav Klose, the all-time leading goal scorer in World Cup history. Unlike Fontaine's crazy single-tournament explosion, Klose built his record through just incredibly steady consistency. He netted his 16 goals across 4 different World Cups, wrapping it all up with his final goal in 2014 against Brazil. It's literally the ultimate mark of a legendary career. Now let's get into some of the weird stuff with Section 4, bizarre World Cup history. So the highly structured, basically flawless mega event we know today, yeah, it used to be an absolute logistical nightmare. In 1930, hopping on a private jet obviously wasn't a thing, so European teams like France, Belgium, and Romania literally had to set sail on a boat for weeks just to reach Uruguay in time. Then in 1938, it was supposed to be a 16-team tournament, but Austria was forced to withdraw after being invaded. That left this awkward 15-team bracket where Sweden literally just got a walkover victory to the quarterfinals. And of course, there was that massive 12-year hiatus where the whole tournament paused until 1950 because of the Second World War. But honestly, perhaps the wildest early story belongs to Romania's King Carol II. Back in 1930, the guy seized power just 35 days before the inaugural tournament. Undeterred by the insane time crunch, he completely bypassed the head coach and personally selected the squad himself. But they hit a major roadblock. His best players worked for an English oil company, and the company, understandably, refused to give them 3 months off to go play football. So, what did the king do? He intervened, strong-armed the company, and basically forced them to let the players go. Totally wild, right? And we definitely couldn't talk about bizarre history without bringing up the original prize, the Jules Rimet Trophy. This 14.4-inch, 7-kilogram solid gold prize was actually stolen right before the 1966 games in England. It sparked an absolute international panic. That is, until it was discovered wrapped up in a newspaper by a heroic little dog named Pickles. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. The biggest sporting prize in the entire world, rescued by a dog. Which brings us to our final chapter, Section 5, Evolution of the Games. If you look back, the tournament has undergone some relentless expansion. For over 2 decades, from 1954 all the way to 1978, it was a pretty tight 16-team affair. Then we bumped up to 24 teams, and then eventually to 32 starting in 1998. Now, of course, we're making that massive, unprecedented leap to 48 teams for 2026. It's a progression that perfectly captures how the global reach of the sport has just demanded a larger and larger stage over the decades. To really prove just how culturally massive the tournament had become, even way back in the mid-20th century, you have to check out this unbelievable number: 173,850. That was the official attendance for the 1950 final phase match that decided the winner between Brazil and Uruguay. Over 170,000 people packed into the Maracanã Stadium. It just goes to show that right after World War II, the global appetite for this tournament was already reaching astronomical heights. And look, to dominate in this modern, ever-expanding era, a player needs incredible physical longevity. That's perfectly represented by our next number, which is 26. That is the all-time record for the most World Cup appearances, set by Lionel Messi as he captained Argentina to glory in 2022. He made his debut way back in 2006, and over the course of 5 tournaments, he surpassed the long-standing record, 26 matches at the absolute highest possible level of pressure. It's simply legendary. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought today. As 2026 kicks off this totally unprecedented 48-team era with 104 matches on the schedule, which of these legendary, so-called unbreakable numbers will be the very first to fall? Are we going to see a 10-second goal? Will a player somehow beat Klose's 16-goal record? Or perhaps we'll crown a brand new youngest champion? The true beauty of this tournament is that history is always waiting to be rewritten. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the pitch.